If her sulfates were less than 800, then she would have slow CBS function and she would need B6. I tend to like to see a 5-day average of the first morning excretion, because the first morning excretion is going to be the most concentrated and it's going to be the most consistent, because people eat and drink less while they're sleeping than they do during the day. But you can still see sulfur reactivity in patients if you do a 5-day average. And so, when I mean sulfur reactivity, if you see somebody come in on, with their 5-day average, and day number 1, their sulfur is 800, but day 2, they're 1200, day 3, they're 800, day 4, when they're bouncing all over, that's a sign that they're reacting to the foods that they're eating. A lot of people don't react to sulfur foods like that. Their sulfate excretion is going to be relatively stable between 800 and 1200, regardless of what they eat. A lot of people will stay between 1000 and 1200, regardless of what they eat. And so the things that you're looking for are extremely high, extremely low, or highly reactive. And so does fast CBS always increase H2S? It's dependent upon the availability of cysteine, because CBS can utilize either serine or cysteine, but more than likely, if somebody has a high CBS, they will overproduce hydrogen sulfide, almost always. The hydrogen sulfide, once it's liberated by CBS, and there's 2 other enzymes in the human body that produce hydrogen sulfide. I'm focusing just on CBS because the other one, cystathionine gamma lyase, is a B6 utilizing enzyme also, and they have slightly different regulating factors, but in general, they both rely on the concentration of cysteine, and they rely on B6, and so it just simplifies the whole approach if we just look at CBS. But once hydrogen sulfide is liberated, generally it's reactive enough that it's not going to go back into the pathway and produce things like taurine. Typically, once it's liberated, it is reactive enough that it's going to be degraded relatively quickly in the human body. Okay, is there anything? Okay, so for her SNPs, I'm going to do a quick summary. And her SNPs came from the MTHFR support, the old version, and I don't like being in a habit of bad-mouthing anybody, but I'm really not happy with the new reports that are being provided by MTHFR support. And if any of you are users of MTHFR support, please let them know that their new reports are very challenging to read. My biggest issue is they don't supply RS numbers, and I don't trust that they have done their homework. There are a lot of SNPs that are reported by MTHFR support that when you do an RS search in PubMed, Google Scholar, or PharmGKB, there's no data. And so, I like to use the SNPs that we have data on. I know we don't have data on all SNPs, and not all the data is conclusive on all the SNPs, but, it's kind of a shot in the dark when there's no data. So please give them feedback if you agree with me. So for our case this evening, her homozygous SNPs were CBS, MAO, COMT, nitric oxide synthase, HLA, and GAD1. So we talked about CBS, first priority, determine her homocystine balance. And just for make sure we're all coherent on this discussion following, Remember that in our discussion following this tonight, the CBS is inhibited by carbon monoxide, cyanide, mercury, and nitric oxide and peroxynitrite.